How's it going? Today, I'd like to talk about Smart Troll and how I've been collecting data for 2 years on this since I've been using it, nearly 3 seasons, and I've got a great story to tell. But first, let's start with Richard Hajecki of Crazy Yankee Charters. He convinced me this was a good thing to try, and I was skeptical because I heard anything new and it's just in this investment that I was skeptical. So, but I trusted Richard, and working with the owner, Daryl Hoff, it's worked through some of the initial the learning curve, and well, here we go. I'm motivated to catch larger fish, and we've been using divers for a number of years, and more recently, since 2010, light bites here on Lake Champlain for these landlocked salmon, and the regular divers out in Lake Ontario. So it was kind of cool to be able to see where these things are running because we never had any clue. How many times have you had a fish hit it, and the other one is dead in the water, and you're just like, no matter what you do, you can't seem to get the other one dialed in? Well, there's a reason. They're not all created equal. And until you see where they're actually running, you're fishing blind, basically. So these have added 30% more bites, looking at the data. And, it's a very stealthy way. And I guess the best way to characterize it is that, knowing where they're running, you can try to stay above the fish, because once you're below the fish or at the level of the fish, it's basically game over, because you need to be above them to trigger these bites. So when we're facing a lot of current, like at Lake Ontario, when we're running 4 divers, we're constantly making adjustments. Now, turning the boat, or trying to think of, either we're turning the boat from the current, or we're getting bit on one diver, and we're making adjustments to stay above those fish based on that fish that bit that other diver. So junk lines, I don't run them just for the reason, I have a 19-foot boat. I don't have room. I don't have all the lead cores. I don't have the weighted steel. I don't have all that stuff. I try to keep it simple. We run 6 rods with 2 fishermen in Lake Ontario, and 4 rods on Lake Champlain for 2 people, because we have 2 lines a person here. So, you want to have those in the best possible position to catch fish. And based on, like I said, the temperature and the depth, we know we're staying above them. I mean, we've caught kings in 65-degree water last year at the Oak. That's just unbelievable, And by keeping those divers up in that 65-degree water, we were getting bit. So that was that was a game changer. So, it's really easy to adjust divers. And, of course, if you're running segmented lead or copper, you got to have all these rods. And I'm back to the junk lines. I guess I don't run them just because it's too much work. So, I have 2 paddles here. We run a lot of 8-inch, with meat, with fake meat, and flies. 13-inch paddle, traditional paddle. What we found out was this thing creates a hell of a lot of drag. Well, we knew that. And we see that on our dive curve when we're looking at the Smart Troll. There's a big difference when you're running these 2. So, I asked the question, if you seem to be getting bit more on these, is it because you're running higher in the column? Fish are coming up and hitting it. Could that be? I just asked the question. So, big difference. Other situations, you have a small fish, and now you see the depth change. You have a release, it's a knockoff, and you're looking at the screen, you're driving the boat and saying, oh, it's running at 20 feet. I look back, the driver's tripped. Okay? tangled divers. You're running 4 divers and you tangle one because of the current, and you'll see it on the depth curve. You say, well, gee, it only went down 40 feet. You know you got caught in a downrigger line, setting it out on the inside, or the outside, or vice versa. So you bring them in, fix it. Fleas, huge. We watched, you go in and out of bad fleas, and and some not fleas are so bad, depending if you're going inside water or outside water. And we'll see those things load up, in 20 minutes and watch them rise 10 feet. Then we know we got to bring them in, strip the wire, set them back out. Very helpful. Weeds. Well, once in a while, the weeds ball up and cover the probe before the diver. So again, we lose a signal and say, oh, we got a ball of weeds on there. Really? Doesn't happen very often, but just another example, to clean it off. And of course, currents. And I mentioned, currents, they really raise heck. You turn the boat, we're adjusting the divers. You turn the boat, you're adjusting the drivers. So all in all, a lot of advantages. Not just, catching more fish. It keeps you in the game, basically. Now let's take a look and see what the main components of the system is, and I'll take you a walkthrough through the boat. Thank you. Okay, let's start with the transducer. So I don't run with a kicker on this boat. I troll with a 200 Merc. So this side, doesn't matter either side because I don't have a kicker, but here's a transducer if you want it as far over as you can. So, and you can see the angle of that is pointing down about, 30, 40 degrees. And it doesn't have to be flush with the bottom of the boat like the transducers. You can just have it up above. I added a second transducer plate because I already had stuff going on there, so I separated it. And the cable goes up through to the computer. All right, I connected the transducer by the cable, routed it up and around and through the well there, the boat. And it's mounted in the corner here. Rigged it with a single switch so we can turn it off and on manually. So you don't want to leave them on when you're not using it. And that's the brains. It connects by Bluetooth to a tablet. I got my tablet. I'll talk about that in a second. Here's a probe, and we use these snap clips from Offshore Tackle with a tab in them to put it ahead of the diver. Let's go to the helm. So here's the display for Smart Troll. It's on a tablet. I got it from Amazon for $75. And this displays your probes by color. I have 2 shown here because we're using 2 on Champlain. When I go to Lake Ontario, I'll add 2 more, so I'll be showing 4 of the 6 colors of probes available. So that's it. Those are the 3 major components, actually 4, with the probe of the Smart Troll system.